Madden 20 is just around the corner, and with EA Play being just a week away, it's time to talk about what is really going to be the driving force behind Madden this year, and what the game is really going to be dependent on. Now, I did a video like this last year where I talked about real player motion, seeing as that was the big feature coming to the game, and I said that in order for the game to be good, everything was really riding on real player motion, as that was really the selling point of the game. The way that the player movement was, if it was really good and upgraded, that would have changed Madden as we know it, and that affects all game modes, franchise, MUT, regular play now. And we saw that real player motion, while it did some things that were good, it did a lot bad. It wasn't truly polished, and that's what we talked about for 19. But now Madden 20, we actually have a few new things kind of coming to the table, and I think that I've narrowed it down to two big things, because no matter how much stuff they add to the game or what they take out or what they sell us on, you can usually boil it down to one, maybe two big key things that is really going to be the difference maker, whether they hit it or they don't hit it. So what I've narrowed that down to for this year. Now, most people will say, like, oh, you know, franchise mode is what the game depends on. And I never just go that broad and say, oh, it's just going to be franchise mode. Because the truth is, even though a lot of people play franchise mode, there's also a lot of people that don't. So even if you get a really good franchise mode, but everything else in the game is not that good, then it's still a bad game for a lot of people. And I'm not just going to just say a broad term like gameplay, because we know that gameplay is important, and we know that Madden's gameplay still has a lot of work to do. But truth is, Madden is still a playable game. Even though it has a lot of work, it's still a very playable game, so I want to focus more specific things. So I've narrowed it down to these two things. Number one, the scenario engine. So we'll talk about that first, and then I'll talk about number two. So the reason why I think Madden 20 depends, or its life depends on the scenario engine, is because this is actually something new coming to the game, and this is something that can actually breathe life into franchise mode that we haven't really seen before, or haven't seen anything close to since the PS2 days. Not only that, but this is also going to really be what make or breaks the new career mode, which, yes, it's only a quarterback, face of the franchise, but it's still a career mode, and this feature is really going to make or break that mode, because all the other stuff in the career mode is cool, right? You know, you get to play a couple games of college football, awesome, but then after those 2 games, it's over. You get to go to the combine, you know, run the 40, maybe bench press, run a couple drills. Really cool. Probably going to take you about 15 minutes, and then it's over. Right? You get to interview with some GMs. Probably takes a few minutes again. Then it's over. Then you go through the draft. You get drafted, yada, yada, yada. Now you're on your team. You have to probably, like, earn your way, you know, get your starting job. But then once you get to that point, so we're talking, what's this, maybe a few hours of gameplay, and then you're at the point where now you're in franchise mode, and you have to play through. And if you are going to play, you know, 5, 10, or even 15 years into your career and try to make the Hall of Fame, the scenario engine is going to be what makes or breaks that. Because if the scenario engine is really bland and stale, and the storylines aren't really immersive, and the goals that you are being met with each week aren't really challenging, you're going to get bored with it. Now, what differs between the Madden career mode and, say, something like an NBA 2K is you have the online element to that, right? And that's kind of how the career mode has evolved. Whereas most people that play NBA 2K, like, yeah, there's still a lot of people that like playing the actual career mode versus the computer, going on their team, you know, going to practices, you know, trying to win a title, maybe win an MVP. A lot of people do that, but the far majority have kind of left that part of it behind, and they really only use that to grind their characters overall up. Most people that play my career now play it because they want to create their player, bring it online, and play in the park 3 versus 3 or 2 versus 2, or play the Pro-Am 5-on-5 with other people, because people like to interact with each other. So even if 2K's story mode on any given year isn't that good, if the actual career mode isn't that deep for whatever year, it's kind of a copy and paste, there's still some attraction to it because of the online element. Madden does not have that yet because they're just bringing career mode back. So in order to keep this interesting, the scenario engine is going to be everything. Because as I've said, all the pre-draft stuff is awesome. We love to see that. College football, combine, the draft. We love all of that, but that stuff is really quick. It does not last long. And yeah, maybe you might want to replay it a couple times because it was fun, but after you play that 3-4 times, it doesn't really have anything there for you after that. You're over it. So what's going to make this interesting is how good the scenario engine actually is, and because it's the first year, and in a Madden game, you have to wonder, how deep is it? How immersive is it? How branching is it? Because this is what they said in one of the articles, They said we've added all new in-game system that generates personalized playable scenarios featuring interactions with characters via a variety of ways, including branching dialogue, dynamic events that reflect your performance and choices, challenges that build the story of your unique NFL career from the moment you sign your rookie contract to your Hall of Fame induction, and more. Like, it sounds really good when you read it like that. Like, think of what this says, branching dialogue. That means we have these scenarios that are going week to week. They aren't just one-off things. Dynamic events that reflect your performance and choices, meaning if I do something wrong, if I make the wrong decision, if I say the wrong thing, that could reflect a whole bunch of things. Maybe I could, if I'm not performing well and I was a late round pick, I could get dropped from the team and be a free agent. You know, there's all these scenarios that can happen, but if they don't carry through, if they're not actually dynamic, if they're not branching, if they're just week to week for the most part, and after maybe playing a year or two into your career, you just start seeing the same things repeat over and over, that's going to be a damper on Madden 20, because the career mode, it's already limiting as only being a quarterback. You don't have an online element to it, so if the scenario engine gets boring and repetitive, you're not going to want to play it anymore. You're going to get bored with it. And then that carries over into the regular franchise mode. If you're a franchise player that just wants to control the whole team and be the owner and all of that, there's still so many things missing from franchise mode, like, you know, coordinators, coaching carousel, minicamp. There's so many things missing. The created team type of feature. The relocation is very limited. So there's already, so much missing that it's easy to get bored. It's so easy to get bored with franchise. And that people are coming up with the most creative ways to try to keep it interesting, but it's still at a certain point you're just over it because you want more customization and things there to do. So if the scenario engine is what they're selling, if it's what they are, building it up to be, then franchise mode could actually have something good this year. It could actually have a life beyond just playing a few years into a franchise, because you could have all these different people on your team to manage. Okay, this guy's not getting enough catches. Okay, this guy's not getting along with this guy. Okay, you cut this guy that was a big, player boost to your team morale, and now, things are in shambles. Like, if you have to actually manage all this while playing the game and game planning, that would make franchise mode a lot more fun. And then hopefully, as the years go, they would still add stuff back to it that we need. But the scenario engine is something that can really take franchise to a place that we really haven't seen. So that's number one. That was kind of long-winded. Number two is going to be a little bit more short-winded, but it is about the gameplay, because, of course, gameplay is the most important. But the emphasis on what they have said about cleaning up the gameplay this year, and I've said it in numerous videos already, but I think this is really make or break for the game, because we've seen gameplay going such downhill these last few years, and they said that they have worked on gameplay this year more than they have in recent years. They said that they have cleaned up more bugs than in recent years. They kind of took a different approach so that there will be much less bugs in the game at launch. They even said that they tackled a bunch of legacy issue problems. They've touched on specific ones that sound good, but it remains to be seen until we play it. Mike Young, the creative director, said there's a long laundry list of things that the community should be excited about. They did a lot with animations. It's cleaner, and it's, all this. So, and the reason I'm saying that, especially for this year, is because you got to look at what was added, the X Factor abilities and the Superstar abilities. If they didn't truly clean the game up and make it the more, the most bug-free game that we've seen in a while, these abilities are going to be a nightmare. And this is something Rex said in an interview he did with Ryan Moody, which he posted maybe a day or two ago, and Rex said that he's kind of worried about the abilities because we've already had abilities in Ultimate Team, and not all of them worked correctly, and he was looking at it from the standpoint of, the philosophy has to be you need to fix the game before you build upon something that wasn't really working properly. So, again, it goes back to what Mike Young and Clint Odenberg have both said about the game being cleaner and more bug-free. If it truly is not that, then these abilities are going to be a nightmare. It's going to only show how much worse the gameplay is. But if what they're saying is true and the game is going to be a lot better and more playable, then the abilities could be a great thing for the game. So we've just seen this gameplay in Madden really get out of hand these past few years, and if it continues to go further south this year, it really is make or break for a lot of people. Some people are already just done with Madden, and there's so many people, I've never seen so many people just on the fence leading up to a Madden that actually is bringing a lot of good things to the game. Abilities on paper sound great. Career mode being back, although limited, still sounds great. Scenario engine sounds great. The changes they've made to Ultimate Team sound great. The legacy issues they have fixed sound great, but there's still so many people on the fence because of how bad the gameplay has been. So not only is the scenario engine going to be crucial for those offline modes, but the gameplay actually being more clean, bug-free, and the animations being better is going to be so critical for the entire game because of the addition of these new abilities. If you're throwing these abilities on top of the same gameplay we've had the past 2 years, it's not going to be a good year. So those are the two things that I think Madden 20's life depends on. Let me know below. Maybe you have some different things and you look at it a little bit differently. Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell because Madden gameplay is dropping very soon, and I will have it on this channel breaking it down, having everything you guys need to know. So make sure to be up to date on that. You want to click the bell. And as always, I will see you guys next time.